What's up, everyone? Big primetime 2-game slate coming up tonight. It's Monday, week 14. I got Bobbywow with me. We're going to break it all down. We're talking the primetime 2-game slate. Well, I guess we'll tie in a little bit to the showdowns, but I want to focus the 2-gamer Bobbywow.
Let's do it. Yeah, I think that's a good call.
Little just and I have some plays, a lot of thoughts on this one. Bears win, good job. Really good content last week. We were just talking about it off the air. Talking about Wilson and Flacco and some of these crazy QBs that we talked about, but primarily the core plays the same. Like when I did the Players Club this week, every lineup had the same group of wide receivers pretty much. We went Garrett Wilson. We went DJ Moore. I had like 70% DJ Moore. Loved him. Loved Fields, but had 70% DJ Moore. We had tons of Rashee Rice. The combos
Njoku.
Njoku. The optimizer forced Njoku in every lineup if you didn't fight it. Another big optimizer play was Odell Beckham. So for the most part, the big miss this week was just like or not. I wouldn't say the big miss because I had a lot of Hall and a lot of Javonte Williams and those guys, but you just had to get the running backs right. Of course, Moss let us down. Christian McCaffrey let us down pretty big, but outside of that, man, we're really, really on with everything, and you just had to hit the running back right because the wide receiver Drake London. I had Drake London like every lineup as well. So we really nailed that. So let's bring that goodness here to this 2-game slate.
Let's do it.
Let's expand it out. So what's up, DFS Army peeps? Here's a little intro on these 2 games, and we're going to go through the matchup sheet, of course. But the Titans at Miami. This is a 44.5 point total with Miami installed as 14-point favorites. What that means is the team totals are very, very low. So the Titans have a 15.5 point team total in this game. That's very low, Bobbywow.
That's very low.
It's not good. I think Miami could dominate them defensively as well. This could be one of those games. I mean, that's what's expected.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 15 points.
Yeah,
never a good sign.
I'm rocking my Packers green and yellow in honor of the Packers here.
I really hope they lose, man. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be tough sledding for the Giants.
I don't care who wins or loses. I just care about my money. But as far that's just me. But Packers at the Giants. This one has a anemic 37-point total, and the Giants are installed as significant 5.5 point underdogs. So the team total for the Packers 21.5, for the Giants is 15.5. So we have 2 teams in the Titans and the Giants with extremely low team totals. Miami has by far and away the highest one. So we bring ourselves into this on the back of that knowledge. Really interesting 2-game slate because it's kind of like, do I want to just load up on those 2 offenses, YOLO? Or how do you win the actual tournament? You might probably have to pick out the right pieces from those shitty games. Maybe. So let's get into the I gotta actually share screen if that's going to work. Hang on, let's try that again. But let's get into the matchups. We'll talk a little bit about the these 2 games and these 2 teams and how they've been, who's been on the field for them.
Yeah.
Right. I think there's a couple of situations. There's a couple of really interesting situations that we got to go over, but so many. For example, the wide receivers for the Packers, right? They've been getting a lot of, they're all cheap and they get a lot of sort of targets. It's really spread out. They got some injuries. So that's cool. We've got the running back situation for Tennessee. We'll talk about in a second as well. So, and the wide receivers is weird for Tennessee as well. So let's talk about this first game, Miami at Tennessee, Bobbywow.
Let's do it.
Okay. Let's start on the Miami side. It's the easier side to sort of break down. We're very familiar with this team. We've been watching them all year. They've been doing great, et cetera, et cetera. We love this team. Let me make this a little bigger so you can see it. Okay, so talking about Miami. The first thing to note is the split in, I guess, snap count between HN and Raheem Mostert, the 2 running backs. Last week, we saw Devon all the way up to 60%, with Raheem coming out around 40%. And a big important part of this. Now, it's always a blowout for Miami. I don't know if it's blowout run or why that happens, but like, what is that? I don't think it was blowout run. I just think for some reason they play Mostert in the first half and HN more in the second half. I'm not even sure if it means anything.
Yeah, I think HN is the future, right? So I think, Mostert, he's a solid veteran. Ultimately, HN is going to be the guy that will be playing the most reps by the time the season's over, would be my guess. He's the better pass catcher. Feels like he fits the scheme better. And so I don't think that that's necessarily a fluke, the increased snap percentage. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something similar the rest of the way.
Yeah, I would expect it. And I think it's really noteworthy that HN 17% target share compared to Mostert. Mostert just says they don't throw to him as much, or they haven't. I don't know why.
They don't. And even more interesting is, HN had the bulk of the carries. Yeah. Typically we see Mostert at least getting the groundwork, but that didn't even happen last week.
Yeah, no, it is HN who seems to be the better guy. Of course, they're taking on a Titans team that has a very, very good run defense for whatever that's worth. But keep in mind that the run defense will break down in a beating game. So that run defense holds up when it's a close, low-scoring game, and the Titans are in it and they're trying to do their style of play and they're running it with Derrick Henry. But the game script here, they're so massively favored that you can almost throw away run defense numbers, because late in a game when a team is down 21 points, they're not trying that hard to stop the running back.
Probably not.
I'm not going to worry too much is what I'm saying about the fact that Titans defense is good against the run. I don't think it matters that much. That's what I'm saying. All right, let's shift gears here to the wide receiver group, because this is a difficult thing to figure out. Keeping it real, very difficult. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are the prime guys. Now, you're seeing some lower snap numbers from last week. I assume they came out of the game for some, like those guys are coming out of the game a lot for, I don't really know why. Why is Tyreek Hill and Waddle so low on their snap percent, Bobbywow?
I thought Tyreek Hill tweaked something a little bit, or maybe something didn't feel right. But like, even if you look at the season snap percentage, these guys aren't playing 80-90% of the snaps. I mean, we're seeing 60-65% on the season. So that doesn't look too abnormal either.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of weird. Kind of weird how they do that on Miami. I don't even remember noticing this before, and this is the first time I'm kind of like noticing, oh, wow, that's pretty low. But what we know is Tyreek Hill and Tyreek Hill gets most of the targets. Waddle's target numbers have been increasing lately, and it's not that much less, but Tyreek Hill just has done so much more with the targets that he's gotten.
Yep.
We can also note that Tyreek Hill will be like 80% owned, and so there's a lot of GPP leverage to this idea of, what if I make a lineup without Tyreek?
I think that is one of the key spots. Yes.
Oh, it definitely is. And Hill rolled an ankle last week. Something weird can happen. An eye poke, an ankle gets hurt. He comes out of the game. At 80% ownership, even just banking on a guy getting concussed in game is like, okay, anything can happen. It's a football game. And an 80% owned guy is not going to be helping you when he's scoring. He's only hurting you when he's not scoring. If you have 100%, like if you go 100% Hill and he has the game of a lifetime, that means nothing for you. Doesn't put you any closer to winning the tournament, as counterintuitive as that sounds. It won't. Your winnings will not go up when he scores.
Yep.
Kenny G's fading Hill, and I like it. I'm fine with it.
The other issue that we'll run into as we dive deeper in is, who else is going to score well, in terms of pay-ups? Like, Hill is far and away the priciest guy. So we got to figure out if that balanced approach is worth it, relative to Hill's ceiling.
There aren't that many. I mean, as we go through this whole slate and we put the whole thing on screen, it's like Hill, Waddle, Hopkins, and then you're in the 5K zone.
Yeah.
Then you're in the, Packer random wide receiver. Dobbs is the best of the rest. So it's like, oh. And then if you're fading Hill, who are you actually paying for?
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Derrick Henry, HN, and Mostert in the same lineup. You'll have to see. A few people already saying, looking at fading Hill. So, of course, guys, this is different. In the showdown, the cost is even more extreme for Tyreek Hill. It gets even crazier. But in the 2-game slate, he's still pretty expensive. But, like, salary is not as critical in that 2-gamer, as we'll see. So After Hill and Waddle here, Bobbywow, this is where it just is almost ridiculous. Berrios, Cedric Wilson Jr., and River Craycraft all have similar snap counts, all in the 40% range. This has not led to a ton of targets on the season for any of them, but it has led to the occasional target or two. They're all turds. Any one of them could be what wins you $1 million tonight. But most of them are going to be what gets you a 0.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. For these guys, I tend to think the turds and some of the other teams are better options. I think we got some turds that are more likely to score points, any points, and also more likely to have a higher ceiling. But yeah, I mean, all these guys are on the field a bunch.
Yeah. Durham Smythe, one of the array of horrible tight end choices we have for today. You know what I like about Durham Smythe? At Stoneman salary on both FanDuel and DraftKings, he might get a 0 and it's still fine. This tight end position is so weak. I noticed this on FanDuel when I was building lineups. On FanDuel, it's like 1,000 difference. On DraftKings, it's only 500. On FanDuel, there is an argument to save the 1,000 and take the 0. You know how that plays out and wins, Bobbywow?
The other ones fail.
Yeah. What if is it such a stretch to think that Taylor Croft, who's been getting, or whatever that guy's name is, Croft, or Chig Okonkwo, who gets 0 after 0 all season? Like, it's not. Is it shocking if those guys get like a 2 or a 3?
No.
Yeah.
Not
and
at
what if the 1,000 savings allows you DeAndre Hopkins instead of Josh Dobbs or Romeo Doubs in your lineup? And that's the difference of more than 2 or 3 points. Like it's a linear equation.
It's a viable strategy. Yeah. Big time in play.
Yeah, I definitely saw it. So Tucker Croft. There's a Tyler Croft also. Tyler and Tucker. I don't know if they're brothers. I don't know. Where were we? Durham Smythe, you talk about, and Julian Hill, backup tight end. Again, that's one of those guys who are going to get you 0. And interesting, actually, Julian Hill got some targets.
There you go.
I'm interested. Okay, and somebody mentioned him in the chat as well, so that's a big win. All right, let's shift over to the Titans. So let's keep in mind, what are we keeping in mind? We're keeping in mind Julian Hill, the fucking turd, and the fact that I would say Tyreek Hill's targets aren't that much more than that much. There aren't that many more targets than what Waddle's getting. I think those are interesting.
Yep.
2-game slate, guys. All right, flipping over to the Titans. Let's take the first look, and it's really important to understand the dimensions here with these 2 running backs. So, Bobbywow, looks like 50-50 on the season for the split for these guys. With Derrick Henry actually coming in only 40% of the snaps last week, and Spears all the way up to 67%. The rushing numbers, again, not that different, at least last week. And last week was not a blowout Derrick Henry situation.
No.
It was a close game. Spears still in the game. I assume you like Spears in the showdown.
You know what? Well, I didn't do the notes for this one. I probably would. But the interesting thing is that Derrick Henry smashed. The last 2 weeks, Derrick Henry's had really good games. Last week in particular, I think he put up 28 points, 40% of the snaps. So I don't know. It's not as much of a slam dunk as you might think. But the Dolphins are a little harder to run against, and the game script is not favorable for Derrick Henry.
Yeah, he could smash one in from the end. Yeah, and that's right. Derrick Henry did get concussed last week. Yeah, that's true. There it is. So that would affect the numbers a little bit, but generally when Titans fall behind, they're not just like banging it up the middle with Derrick Henry anymore. They have to start throwing. Derrick Henry does his best. I mean, we've known the Derrick Henry game script for many, many years, and it's definitely not when his team is a 14-point underdog. That is when you don't play Derrick Henry. That's not to say he can't get a touchdown on a 2-game slate and be the highest scoring running back by default. But
It's possible we see both Henry and Spears in the winning lineup.
Yeah, anything can happen. Anything can happen. And I think everybody's aware of Spears on the slate. He's not that much cheaper than everybody else. I think that's like the negative with me with Spears. Like he's kind of the same price as AJ Dillon, who's probably a better play.
Yes.
On FanDuel, there's a gap, but on DraftKings, they're almost priced the same.
Interesting.
DeAndre Hopkins, 36% of the targets. No one else is getting targeted. Look at it. 9% Westbrook Akine, 3% more. Traylon Burks keeps trying to play. Kind of sucks. Chris Moore is the WR3 right now, with Traylon Burks trying to work his way back in. I think that is noteworthy that it's Chris Moore and Westbrook Akine are both like very live. You need to get exposure to them.
Yeah, Westbrook Akine is your guy. I feel like you always little glimmer in your eye when you talk about him.
I like Ike. I have a nickname for him, Ike. Like after Akine.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think, one thing to point out, you mentioned it a little bit. Traylon Burks is going to work in here eventually. He was on the field. He was healthy again last week, didn't get a single target. But I think Vrabel even mentioned they want to get him more involved. He's going to get more snaps. He's going to get more opportunities. Doesn't necessarily mean production is going to come in the Tennessee offense, but it's worth noting if you're looking for a low-owned punt to try and get unique. Man,
that is some silly for the Millie shit. Traylon Burks absolutely stinks, but yeah, who cares?
I don't know. And in a blowout game, blowout run, I don't know. It's an interesting GPP thought.
Yeah, no, I'm down with it. It's interesting that the matchup sheet is showing Wesco as the tight end. It's not showing Okonkwo, but it's Chig Okonkwo who's the prime guy. Chig does get targets. Wesco looks like a blocking tight end. He's only gotten the 3% target share, and he's on the field, but he's just blocking all the time. He's a big reason why you really don't see 4 wide sets. Do you think Traylon Burks is going to take over for Chris Moore in the WR3 like in full time this game?
I do. I mean, I don't know about full time, but I think we'll definitely see him at a minimum splitting reps.
Okay, that would increase how much he's on the field, right?
He's a legitimate punt.
Yeah. Sterling wants to play Kyle Phillips. I don't know about him. I'm not sure he'll see any snaps. Maybe, but I'm not sure. He wasn't on the field at all last week, so be careful.
And Chig is maybe one of the safe tight ends on the slate. He gets a handful of targets every game. Doesn't do a ton with them, but he gets 4, 5, 6 targets.
Yeah, he's one of the two. The Croft also gets 4 to 5 targets, like most games, 3 to 4. No, there's no tight end that's popping.
No.
All right, shifting to the second game. I bet there's a naming issue. Like, it's probably his name is fucking up our system. Okay. Giants, Tommy DeVito, Swami D. Am I here to amuse you? What am I, a clown? Tommy D.
I owe Tommy D an apology.
Why is that?
He was the quarterback from my Fighting Illini, and he was not great. Illinois' history of quarterbacks is miserable. I mean, very similar to the Chicago Bears. And Tommy DeVito was not special. So I said he stunk. I firmly believed he was the worst quarterback ever. Then Tim Boyle came along. But Tommy DeVito has looked serviceable, if not solid at times. He had 3 touchdowns against Washington a couple weeks ago. He's taking care of the football. He's making smart decisions. He can run a little bit. So I don't know that I'm fully out on Tommy D. Geek.
Okay. I mean, I like it. Give me that confidence to play some Tommy DeVito.
And one other thing, too, while we're on the subject, the Packers secondary is thin. Jair Alexander has been ruled out. Looks like Quay Walker, linebacker, is going to be ruled out. And there's a couple others who are questionable that look maybe on the wrong side of playing. So weakened secondary in Green Bay, too, could lead to some more opportunities for Tommy D, but we'll see.
You never know what happens in that game. Giants are at home. You never know what happens in a situation like that. Whereas I think the Miami game, we kind of know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Unless Miami comes out and like is just not up for the game, which happens on Monday Night Football sometimes too, where they're just kind of like off.
We've seen it.
Those things happen all the time. Okay. Looking at the Giants. So Saquon Barkley, the prime running back with Matt Breida working in as a backup. And they do treat Saquon as the workhorse back. He gets all the carries. He gets all the work. I don't hate it. I like Saquon. He's probably the best running back on this slate from an overall perspective. Even though his team's an underdog, the Giants lean heavy on him. They have to. They have no choice. And the Packers can be run on.
The Packers can be run on.
Yeah.
I think Barkley is, to me, far and away the best running back on the slate.
Yeah, I would agree.
No question about it. It's all about, the competitiveness of the game. And I wrote this up in my notes on the showdown sheet. But aside from last week against the elite Patriots rushing defense, the Giants have been competitive in 5 of 8 games that Barkley has played in. In those 5 games, Barkley's averaging 26 touches, 155 yards, and a touchdown per game. In the 3 blowouts, he's averaging 16 touches, less than 80 yards a game, and has not scored a single touchdown. If you think this game is going to stay competitive, play Saquon Barkley.
And even if it doesn't stay competitive, because there's no one else to play at running back on the slate. So, but yeah, so lots of Barkley. Matt Breida is not scoring points unless, like, if Barkley gets hurt, Matt Breida will be interesting. But you have to, if you're playing Breida, I would. If you allow Breida into a lineup, that is a lineup that doesn't have Barkley in it. Might as well just Barkley gets hurt. Listen, he's fucking Saquon Barkley. He gets hurt all the time.
I think Matt Breida might be number 8 out of the 8 running backs on the slate that I would play.
I will make a rule, and then I'm going to hit a 5% forced min where I make a rule between 0 to 1 of Barkley and Breida so that I have a couple of lineups where I prep for the injury. The worst thing that happens is you played a few lineups with Barkley, with Breida. Barkley does get hurt, but he's in your Breida lineup, and it ruins it. At least I want to know that I
agree with that rule.
Those lotto tickets that I'm throwing away have a chance.
Kenyon Drake might outscore Matt Breida tonight.
No, that's brutal. That's brutal. Kenyon Drake. What team is Kenyon Drake even on?
He got the call up from Green Bay.
Oh, you think he's going to play ahead of Patrick Taylor?
No.
Okay. All right. So the rest of this team, the wide receivers, they're just spreading it out. You can't even figure out who the fuck the wide receivers are. Look how many names they have. Wandale, Slayton, Hyatt, Sterling, Hodgins, Paris Campbell, all getting snaps. All getting snaps. If I could play one, I would most definitely play the classic. I like the 2-game better than the single game.
Agreed.
If you're asking me personal, I'm going to tell you guys right now, just by the way, just to share what I'm personally doing, I am focusing exclusively on the 2-game slates. I am not playing showdown lineups. So I just like 2-game slates better. We have showdowns all the time. Sick of those. I want a 2-game.
That said, I'm with you, but there are multiple levels of notes. So take a look at the 2-gamer notes, and then take a look at the showdown notes, because you get a deeper dive into some of the turds and players that are less known.
I'm absolutely reading all the showdown notes for that reason, because you even in the 2-game slate, you really need to understand who these turds are. I can promise you I'm not getting any. Sterling's not getting any snaps. I feel like Sterling Shepard will get snaps, but Sterling Thesis will not get snaps. What's that?
I said Sterling's going to get some snaps. Sterling Shepard, yes.
Snaps. All right, so where were we? They're all getting snaps here, but who's getting targets? Jalen Hyatt, 25%, Wandale, 20%, Slayton, Shepard getting 12%. Last week, 1 target each for these other guys. So effectively, it looks like Hyatt seems to be kind of the best of them, but that was just last week. It's not for sure. It could go anyway.
And keep in mind, too, this target percentage is based on, 23, 24, 25 throws. So we're not talking major volume at 20% target share. But yeah, I think I would rank them Hyatt, Wandale and Slayton as the second best options.
Yeah. And then you never know when Sterling Shepard catches a touchdown at 3K or one of these other guys. And quite honestly, I'm pretty confident that if you're entering the $1 million to first contest on DraftKings, it will be a play like that is required in your lineup in order to win all the monies. So might not be one of the Giants guys, but it's probably going to be one player in that zone of only gets a couple targets a week. But
feels like it's going to be one of those Giants or Dolphins guys. And I think the Giants guys probably have the better shot.
Yeah. The Packers have a lot more of these guys too. So, but yes, the Dolphins guys will get you because they're going to be the lowest owned. Like Braxton Berrios did it.
God.
Or Craycraft. When I run the optimizer, I do not get any Craycraft. I don't get any of those guys, no matter what I do. Like outside of forcing it, I have to force it a little bit. This type of forced min on
you're
them.
You're gonna have to fade some of those guys anyway, even in MME.
Can't play them all. At tight end, some of you guys were asking before. The tight end of note on the Giants right now is Daniel Bellinger with Larry Cager as the backup. Bellinger gets all the snaps. He's got an illness Q tag. That usually doesn't mean people don't play. It usually means they do play. So I think Daniel Bellinger will play, but if he's not in, you just shift that to Larry Cage. And I think, Bellinger's probably as good of a play as any of these fucking zeros.
He's fine. Is he min price?
No, he's a little above min.
Yeah, he's on the field a ton, just doesn't get very many looks.
Yeah, but he's caught a pass here and there.
Yes.
Wilson Jr. runs deeper as he gets over. Yeah, Wilson Jr. I don't know how much Wilson Jr. I'll have, but I doubt I'll have much with HN and Mostert in there. I think Wilson Jr. though, Wilson Jr. is a threat to come in for backup carries if Mostert gets hurt or HN. We've had 2-game slates like this where multiple running backs got hurt and it was all down to backups. Like I remember last year, there's one of these where you needed both of the backup running backs in there in order to win.
Yes, I think. Yeah, it might
Do you remember that
slate as well? Yeah, one of these shorter slates. Yes,
yeah.
That was insane.
Yeah, it was like a 2-game, and all the starters went out. Like picture this slate, but it was like Derrick Henry goes down, boom. Saquon Barkley goes down, boom, and both of their backups are the 2. And it was like no one had the pair. Somebody had one of one guy, somebody had the other guy. Oh, but not both. Oh, Wilson Jr. He meant Cedric. Yeah, I do like Cedric Wilson Jr. a little bit. Okay, wait, going back. We're going back to Miami. We're talking about the Giants. Oh, okay. I was like, does Wilson Jr. get? I was thinking Jeff Wilson Jr. I'm like, does he get targets? What am I missing? All right. And then Bobbywow, the last team, the Packers. AJ Brown is out. Not AJ Brown. What the hell's the
Christian
main running back? What's that?
Oh, sorry. Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones. AJ. Aaron Jones is out, leaving AJ Dillon. There's too many AJs here. AJ Dillon in as the starting running back. He should get all of the work. He's cheap. No one likes him. Everybody hates AJ Dillon. Everybody. He stinks. Does he stink? I don't know. But he's not been good this year. Bobbywow, is it talent or is it just like natural variance and luck? Like when both the running backs are in, like Dillon does better than when he gets the full workload. What the fuck is up with that? I just think it's random noise.
Yeah, my take in perspective for this showdown in this 2-gamer is AJ Dillon has stunk, but he might not stink. That's kind of the perspective we have to take. He has stunk, but he might not stink, and that's why we need to consider playing him across the board. Because you're right, unless something changes, he's going to get the full complement of RB1 reps. And the Giants have not been good against the run. This profiles as a running game to me. I think AJ Dillon could potentially be the highest scoring running back on the slate. I think Saquon has the best odds, and I think AJ Dillon is maybe next in line.
Wow. That's bold.
I know. Achane.
I mean, it's not that many. Achane's the only other one to even discuss. So, or Derrick Henry.
It's the lack of pass catching upside with Dillon that's concerning. But he'll get his carries. I think he scores a touchdown tonight. His
team is favored going up against a pretty bad defensive team. Can he score a touchdown? Yes. There it is. Like, he just needs to score a touchdown and you're in the nuts. And he's very cheap. If you have AJ Dillon, you almost need one of these. You'll see when we put lineups together. Now I want to address a couple things in the comments before I finish with the breakdown of the Packers because we really have to get into their wide receivers. But number one, Levis goes out, Tannehill comes in and stinks it up also because he sucks. No, but this is a pretty intense way to play a two-gamer. I had one that I really liked here. People don't like A.J. Dillon because he's bald. People like to see their athletes with hair.
I don't know that I'm buying on that, but
that's the comment section. That's the comment. No one likes a baldy.
Has Tannehill thrown for 300 yards in the last 10 years? I don't even think that's happened when he started.
A couple seasons ago, he had some quality fantasy performances. It was like 3 years ago. All right, let's talk about these Packers wide receivers. Very important on this slate. Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Wicks, right? We lost Christian Watson last week. And so now we have a tighter pool of players at wide receiver, which is nice on the Packers because they've been spreading it around way too much for. I still think they're kind of going to spread it around, but I think it'll be less. So Doubs, 81% snap count on the season, 80% on the season, 81% last week. Great. Jaden Reed out there less than you would think at 58% on the season, only 46% last week. Wicks, 40% last week. Malik Heath kind of mixing in a little bit. And I actually have my sneaky Taware Toure.
He's your sneaky guy?
Not really, but I think that if I can figure out how to type his name, he did have some targets in earlier games this year, and it is noteworthy that what if it's him that comes in for? I mean, it's not out of the question that he gets some of those Christian Watson snaps. Like, I'm not 100% sure where they go.
I think I would go with Malik Heath. If I'm going to punt with a Packers wide receiver, I'm going Heath. I think he's close to min price. He's going to be sub 5% ownership. He's been getting targets with Watson healthy. So I think he steps in. He'll play 30, 40% of the snaps. And, he's a guy that could sneak into the optimal.
Those kind of players, you have to force them in because it's going to default to Wicks over Heath at a similar price. You'll have to force a little bit of exposure to that type of player. Wicks I like a lot, though.
I like Wicks a lot, too.
Yeah. And I think that's the best pay down right now to me on this entire slate because Wicks has been getting 4 to 5. He's been basically getting similar target numbers to Dobbs and Reed. Who do you like between Reed and Dobbs?
I think it's mostly a toss-up. To me, Jaden Reed has that rushing upside, which is interesting, especially with Aaron Jones out. So that kind of gives him a little bit of an edge to me. They've got very similar touchdown odds, very similar receiving props, but that potential for rushing upside with Reed maybe slightly puts him over the edge between the two. Yeah, I mean, they're both good plays though.
I think Dobbs has been good at getting touchdowns.
Reed, I thought so too. Reed has more than I thought. I think Dobbs has 7 and Reed has 6. It's close.
Very similar. Very similar. Ben Sims caught a touchdown last week, didn't he?
He did. Sims for the wins. Yes.
Sims for the win. That's another one, by the way. Sims is stone min, especially on FanDuel. DraftKings, again, this is less sexy, but on FanDuel, there is some benefit to just saying, fuck it. I'm not going to pay $5K when there are guys for $4K. I'm not saying this is another little thing that I just noticed. Like, the lineup looks different when you save the 1,000. And sometimes the 2 that the best tight end might get you on FanDuel isn't worth the 1,000 more that they cost than maybe a 0 or even a 2 you could get from Ben Sims on his 1 reception.
I think if I'm punting at tight end and I'm taking your min price strategy, what I think is really intriguing, I'm probably going to Gura.
Who? Oh, Josiah.
Josiah's back this week. In theory, he should slot back in as the TE2. I'm sure him and Sims will split reps, but we've seen him be athletic before. Sims, I think, got lucky last week. He fell into the end zone on his one target, 1 catch.
One thing not a lot of people know about me and Josiah, we go back like babies and pacifiers. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, we go back. We go back a long way. All right. Where were we? Okay, so we did that breakdown. Let's go to the cheat sheet. I actually don't want to even go directly to the cheat sheet. I don't think. I think I want to go right to the Dom station and talk this through position by position.
I like that. Let's do that.
Okay, and we'll look at the ownerships here. What am I on? FanDuel or DraftKings? All right, I got DraftKings loaded up. So you'll see some of these ownerships. So let's get that on screen here. So effectively, and I got to give Josiah a projection because he's got a 0. Are we sure that Josiah is playing tonight?
No, we're not fully sure. It's very likely he'll play. We're not even sure that he'll be the TE2. I'm just saying he's the more athletic of those 2 tight ends between him and Sims.
Yeah,
that's all.
All right, let's not go overly crazy about
that
situation.
No, please.
But I could give him a 1. Like if he's in exclusions and we know he's active, the way you remove a player, let's just do a little bit of teaching how to use the domination station optimizer. If I see a player in the excluded section here and I want to use him, I simply put a projection onto him, like 1, and he's no longer excluded. Now he's in the usable section. So the way our optimizer works, when a player gets a 0, they're shifted over to the do not use file. All you have to do is give them a projection greater than 0, and they will be in your useful player pool. All right, so now getting back to it, Bobbywow. Here are the 4 QBs that are available to us, the pricing and the ownership. So Tua's looking like about 50% owned. You got Jordan Love at 30%, and then Levis and Tommy D bringing up the rear. Tua projects massively better than everybody else. His team total is massively higher. Everything about the Tua projection is better, but there is also some concern that what if like it's too easy of a game, they score a bunch via the run. I'm starting to think of like rules that I want to make for this.
It just depends on the style of game you're playing. Are you trying to take down a tournament? Are you trying to play a cash game? Are you trying to be safe, risky?
For this, I only care about winning the tournament. I think in cash, you're playing Tua.
Yes. Okay.
For this, I'm trying to win the tournament. So I have some thoughts. And when I'm trying to win the tournament, I'm trying to think of like what works in cash. Now let's reverse that. So what do you think of this, Bobby? Just a quick thought of a strategy. What about if you take the assumption that either Tua is crushing the slate or the running backs are getting all the touchdowns? So like in a scenario where Tua is not in the lineup, wouldn't we want to boost up Achane and or Mostert? Is that like should we sort of increase the occurrence of Achane or Mostert in a non-Tua lineup, assuming that the reason Tua isn't the best QB is because the running backs are doing a lot of work?
Yeah, I think you could definitely do that. That makes sense to me. I struggle with the rules. I really do, especially on a 2-gamer. But yeah, I think in theory that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, and I wouldn't do it with a rule. This can only be done with the boost. Like I don't want to hardwire any kind of rule like that. I just mean boost the projection a little bit when anyone that isn't Tua is the QB.
It makes it a little harder that we have 2 running backs who both have legitimate potential to produce. And, if there was one sole back, I'd be so much more in on that. I'd boost them significantly more. But yeah, I think they're both still worth a boost in that situation.
Jordan Love, I think, will be the second highest owned. He's coming off of a few good weeks of production.
Here's the thing. Let me tell you a little about Jordan Love. Okay. First off, he has been phenomenal the last 3 weeks. He's looked great. He's striking fears in every Bears fan's heart. However, it's worth noting that Christian Watson has been at the center of that success. Okay, so I think for the most part before these 3 weeks, Love he's been okay, right? He hasn't been great. The last 3 weeks, he's taken a step up. But here's the thing: Christian Watson has 14 catches, 200 plus yards, and 5 touchdowns these last 3 weeks. Before that, in 6 games, he had the same stats essentially. Now Christian Watson is out. I think that changes things for Jordan Love in a big way. I really do think it caps his ceiling. So to me, I kind of like the idea of getting below Love and getting some leverage on Levis and DeVito, who I think have similar upside, especially Tommy DeVito with the rushing ability.
Interesting.
This is my thought.
Yeah. All right. I love it. Just give me a reason, to get unique on a slate like this, and I'm in. So your thought is Love maybe not as good without Christian Watson out there. Also, Love again hitting really good games the last few weeks, but that doesn't mean that will continue. We've seen it with look at what happened with Josh Dobbs. He looked like the next coming of Kirk Cousins out there for the first game or two, and then he comes down to earth and he stinks.
I don't think Love is bad. I think Love looks great. I think he'll be just fine. But we've seen earlier in the season those numbers, that fantasy production for Love hasn't been there, as well as his wide receivers. These big games are coming with Christian Watson producing.
Yeah.
Christian Watson's been out, and we've seen Dobbs and Jaden Reed not score well. Typically in that scenario they would if the quarterback was putting up numbers. But Christian Watson has been a huge part of why Jordan Love is putting up bigger fantasy numbers, and that goes away tonight.
Interesting. I like it. So I like the thought, and I like the contrarianism of it. If you look at the ownerships, it will be 30% Love, almost 50% Tua, and only 10s on Levis and DeVito. So if you can go over 10 on Levis and or DeVito, you're going to get a little bit of leverage to the field just by doing that. I think it's perfectly acceptable. Listen, Tommy D has won. I remember one of these last year where it was like Derek Carr that came through in the end, or not Derek Carr, but the worst of the QB. I know it was Mac Jones that came through at the end, yes. And you're like, of all of them, that was the last guy. I mean, that was a slate with like Mahomes on it, like it was like Mahomes and Hurts and all those names were on the slate. And it was Mac Jones in the end of the day. And we just saw yesterday names like Joe Flacco putting up 20s and Zach Wilson putting up 25. So anybody can do it any given Sunday. And it's not like Tua is a lock button in to have to be throwing in a game they could completely dominate defensively, not to mention offensively from start to finish. So a lot of different ways that can go down. Kenny G's already loading up on Larry Cager.
Jesus.
Even though Bellinger's in still, but I think that's okay. You can get a 0 from Cager. You might be able to still win this contest.
Wow.
So I like the thought. Any other thoughts on the QB position, Bobby? What about stacking? And
I think
how deep of the stack does it need to be?
I think Tua, you can get away with stacking with one. If you're trying to get unique with Tua lineups, I would say don't play Tua with Tyreek. I think play Tua Waddle, maybe throw a second stack in there. Tua, Achane, and Waddle if you want. But, Tua with Tyreek's going to be far and away the most popular combo. So it might be a way to get a little more unique without playing Hill.
Yeah. Or Tua, I think maybe you might get unique by going Tua, Tyreek, and Waddle all in the same lineup. The triple stack might get you some uniqueness. Or maybe not.
Could.
Maybe that'll be high owned. I don't know. I think it gives you something, though. I do think that you can get a lot of Tua's upside by just playing Tyreek Hill. Then how do we still got to figure out how we're going to fade or how we deal with the Tyreek Hill ownership, because it's going to be crazy.
And I think just to reemphasize one more time, right now we're not talking about the most likely outcome. Okay, I think everyone would agree the most likely outcome is Tua smashes, Tyreek smashes. We're talking about tournament pivots, though. Like this, if you're trying to take down a tournament and be different, that's the emphasis here. So just to make sure that message is clear.
Yeah. Yeah, the obvious path is, of course, play Tua and play Hill together. Start your lineup with those two, and let's move on. So, like, every lineup that, to me, doesn't have Tua as its quarterback is already a little bit unique. One thing I will say about the Jordan Love lineups, it's very comfortable, and it feels great to stack him because they're all really cheap.
Yeah.
And those are the versions of lineups you get with expensive running backs tied in. So you do Jordan Love, and you got, Reed and Dobbs, and then you got Saquon Barkley in there, and you can fit Tyreek Hill in there, and you can even get DeAndre Hopkins in that kind of a lineup because of Hill. And so it is much easier to afford things in that version.
Yep, that's true.
I was not able to put like good lineups together with Tua and Hill that also had two quality running backs. You have to almost have like a Tajay Spears or like double down on like AJ Dillon and Spears or something like that to make the rest of it work. So it's not the easiest thing to make the lineup look good. All right, running back. Let's go through this group. I've got them sorted. I'm going to sort them by ownership. The Dillon ownership, I think, is off Bobbywow. I don't think he'll be that low.
That'd be surprising.
Yeah, based on running the optimizer, I don't think it will be that low. It's just I think those numbers were sort of compiled when it wasn't clear if Jones was going to play or not. So the fact that Aaron Jones is out now, I just think that ownership is going to spike a little bit higher than this 30% mark or 25% that I'm seeing on screen. I just don't buy that.
But there's an element of truth, though, to people hating Dylan. He's burned people so many times this season already.
Oh, so my goodness.
25, 30% wouldn't be surprising. It's too low to me, but I that wouldn't be surprising.
Oh, if that does hold, that would be very low indeed. Obviously, Saquon Barkley, the best play. He could fail. He could fail. But he's the best play. He's the least likely to fail because Saquon Barkley is the only running back on this entire slate that's pretty much locked into, somewhere between 15 to 30 touches. I don't see how the slate goes through without him at the bare minimum touching the ball 15 times.
Yes.
Outside of an injury, of course.
And he'll catch passes too. It wasn't last week, but the week before, I think he caught 2 touchdown passes.
Yeah. And Tommy D finally threw a touchdown. I would include Barkley as a stack partner. So when you're making your DeVito stack, Barkley is just as good as any wide receiver as part of that stack.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 58%, seeing 50% HN, Derrick Henry at 35%. I mean, Mostert 27. Can you play Mostert and HN together?
If Tua is not in the lineup, I guess why not? I mean, it's 2-game slate. It's unlikely that outcome leads to results, but yeah, I think it's viable if you're trying to get a little silly.
I've seen a lot of times when two running backs from the same team on a 2-game slate get there.
I mean, they both one of the first weeks. I feel like they both scored 30+ points, didn't they?
Yeah, that was like week 2 or 3. I think it was week 4 actually of this season. And yeah, they went crazy against Denver that one game. And listen, that could happen. I don't think this isn't that game, but that could happen. Again, if that scenario goes down, that's the scenario where Tua probably doesn't come through. If Miami could just run it all down the throats of the Titans, that's where Tua and Hill probably don't come through.
Yeah. Yep.
What are the chances? So I looked at. We'll get. When we get to the wide receivers, I'll get into that. HN. So Derrick Henry, good the last couple weeks, but this game script generally doesn't fit his style of play.
He's the most fadeable guy above 25% to me.
Yeah. I think that I'm really interested. I did a rule where, again, if Tajay Spears is in the lineup for me, to reduce, I did a sim boost rule. So one of the rules I made was, here, check this out. If Spears is in lineup, then decrease projection for Henry by 15%. So I made this rule, which doesn't lock the two of them out of ever showing up in a lineup together. But I do think that if Tajay Spears is out there doing his thing, it's probably because the game went a certain way. And in that scenario, I'd prefer Derrick Henry not to be in that lineup. How do you feel about that? I know you're not a rules guy, but it's on the boost.
That makes sense to me. I'm just very low on Henry in general. So it's tough for me to get there. It's tough for me to see both of them finding their way into the optimal lineup together as it is.
That's what I'm saying.
That rule makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't really see them both getting there in the same lineup. It's usually one or the other guy. Like in the Tajay Spears game, they kind of get scripted out and they're not able to run it up the gut. We could see. Listen, it just depends how the game goes. If the Titans are down by 21 at halftime, I don't think we're gonna get a Derrick Henry heavy second half. But if they're stopped on the 1 yard line and it's the fourth quarter, Derrick Henry's still gonna be that guy in there to smash it in. He can always he's always live for a touchdown.
Absolutely.
Yeah. HN, Mostert, Dylan. So on your list at the running back position, just how do you see it playing out? Who is your? I mean, you like Barkley and Dillon as your top two, or is it Barkley Dillon? Are you going three? How do you want to treat this?
For me, I think it's Barkley, Dillon, and Achane. I would be okay almost sticking with those three alone. Mix in some Tajay as well, but I think that's where I'm at.
Okay, it's not you. You might need a little Dillon Tajay. It's like couple double up the cheapies, to make it work. But
Saquon, Dillon, and Achane. You could be all in on those three and be okay, I think. But I'll have some Tajay as well.
Wow. Okay, I like it. I find myself using quite a bit of Spears. Just for that savings. Yeah. Just for the savings.
Because that's the thing. He could come in, he could catch 6 passes and blowout run, and that gets him there at 5K. It's not like he has to come in and smash a touchdown in and run for 55. Yeah, he could get there on draft. Enough.
I'd also mention on FanDuel, because I do like the FanDuel contest for this one, even more than the DraftKings ones, that salary-wise, it is a bigger difference going down to Spears. He's 5,800, so he's a full 1,000 savings off of A.J. Dillon, whereas on DraftKings, it's only a couple hundred dollars. Like it's 5,300 down to 5K. On DraftKings, on FanDuel, you're saving a full 1,000 going down to Spears, but Spears is also not much of a touchdown scorer. And then from Dillon up to Achane, it's another 1,200. So it's just big gaps in the salary. Look how expensive Henry is on FanDuel. FanDuel really loves the touchdown scorers. Anything to worry about in the turd zone for running backs? Do I have to play any of these guys?
Patrick Taylor, you could make a very brief argument for, but no, I don't think so.
Cool. All right, shifting to wide receiver, and we are sorted by ownership, right? So Tyreek Hill now showing at 82%. Just give me a philosophical argument for this one. I'm going to show you one thing that I noticed.
Okay.
I was like trying to find any reason to convince myself that it's acceptable, or should I fade him in some lineups. Tyreek. If you look at his pattern of scoring, and I'm just looking at a scoring pattern, 25, 28, 30. So 30, 30, 30, 13.5. 30, 30, 30, 30, 10. 30, 15, 40. So it looks like 1, 2, 3 times out of 12, he puts up a number 3 out of 12, which is 1 out of 4. So he's like the opposite of a GPP play. 3 times out of 4, he hits the ceiling, and only 25% of the time he was a dud on the season. So 1 out of every 4 games turns into a disappointment for Tyreek Hill. I don't think those games are predictable. I don't think we know when that game is coming. One of them was against the Chiefs. You never would have really probably thought that would be the game. I think actually we did predict one against, he actually put up numbers against New England. We kind of thought he might be held down there. Game against Buffalo, he gets held down, and one of the New England games. So if he's going to be 80% owned and he hits good enough, 3 out of 4, can you take that and make any sense of it for me? What should I do with that information?
You know how much I love to fade the chalk. I love it.
Yes.
It gets me up in the morning.
Yes.
Basically. Because of the nature of a 2-game slate, it makes it much harder to fade a guy like Tyreek Hill in this position. Based on salary, based on the other players, especially on DraftKings, it's not like a main slate where if Tyreek gets 20 points, he busts. 15 to 20 from Tyreek on this slate could easily get him into the optimal lineup, like easily. So it's tough for me. I personally would rather get silly elsewhere than fade Tyreek. I don't think you have to fade Tyreek to take down the slate, to take down the tournament. It's tough. He's got to get hurt. At the end of the day, I think he's got to get hurt to not be in the optimal lineup. He's got to get hurt before halftime. That's probably the only scenario.
Hill chasing a record, needs 100 yards for the next few games. You know, they want to get him to 2K without getting even having to play week 18. No one's playing. You got to get there in 17 weeks.
That reminds me too. Saquon's chasing some records tonight. He's chasing some milestones.
Is he?
Keep that in mind.
Season? Is it really?
It's some all-time. I'll have to go. I'll look it up while we keep walking through this. But there's some
always hurt. I feel like his career has been a massive disappointment, and he's breaking records. What? That's crazy. So Tyreek Hill, that what you just said is a real part of this. Although I would lower that a little bit on FanDuel. FanDuel very much requires the touchdown, and like it's harder to get there. So like if he doesn't score a touchdown on FanDuel, everybody's more fadeable at wide receiver on FanDuel in general because the touchdown is a key component. As a matter of fact, I'm going to check the anytime touchdown scorer stat for Tyreek Hill. I'm curious because I believe that is the key number. Hang on a second. Let's see if I can find that. I gotta open draft. You know what, guys? Grab me the. I don't want to slow this down. Grab me the anytime TD prop for Tyreek Hill because to me, if he doesn't score a touchdown on FanDuel, he's not getting there. DraftKings, though, you're right. He probably gets 17, 19 points just on a bad game. On PPR.
He's minus 190.
Minus 190, which
far and
is
away the best odds.
Yeah, about 65%, 70% chance. I think that's your ownership on FanDuel. That's about where you need to be. 65, 70. On DraftKings, you probably 80% is probably the right number, or just go all in. But I don't think you need to bother going all in. I'd probably leave the 20% just to have a few lineups. You should have some lineups without Tyreek Hill.
You can match the field with exposure and take the tournament down on a 2-gamer.
Yeah. All right. So after Tyreek Hill, we got Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle's getting looks also fine. Very expensive. He's not as critical of a play, I would say. But still good.
Not.
I have a lot of lineups pairing him and Waddle with it's not that hard to get them both together with Tua. Going down from there, DeAndre Hopkins getting 10, 12 targets a week. I believe Miami has some elite cornerbacks on their team, including Xavier Howard and what's his name? Jalen Ramsey. Am I wrong about that?
No, I think you're right. I feel like Hopkins and Ramsey are equally dusty, so maybe they cancel each other out. But I mean, Hopkins can do it, right? He's done it. He did it in a very improbable way a couple weeks back with Will Levis.
Yeah.
You know, Will Levis will at least throw the ball up. So crazier things have happened, but yes, it's not.
I'd probably lean towards Hopkins, you know, at 43%. My lean would be that that's not a necessary play.
That feels really high for D-Hop.
Yeah. I don't think it's necessary. I think, you know, again, the way you don't play, you can't get Hopkins in there when you've got a quality running back and like Barkley. When you have Barkley, Tyreek, and Tua, you're not getting Hopkins. You can't afford it. So you wind up on the other guys anyway. So I think Hopkins not a necessity, but he could get there. We already talked about the group from the Packers, but they seem like the next best group. Giants defense not that great. So, you know, Raid, Dubs, Wicks. I'm a little surprised at how low Wicks is showing at 19%. I think Wicks is that $3,800 guy that you can go a little heavier on.
Yeah, I think all of them are in play. They're all probably a little bit too cheap for how often they'll be on the field.
Yeah, this whole rest of the turd zone.
Just for perspective, D-Hop's anytime touchdown odds are plus 275, which again doesn't tell the full story, but Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, and Wicks have better odds to score a touchdown than DeAndre Hopkins.
Isn't that interesting? That is interesting.
I should say Wicks has the same odds. Yeah, Jaden Reed and Dobbs significantly better.
Those guys are much cheaper. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think that Hopkins, especially going up against Jalen Ramsey or Xavier Howard, an elite cornerback, is, and with a very bad quarterback on his end, outside of like a Will Levis lineup, I don't know that I need to force Hopkins in there. I'd probably rather try to get up to Waddle and just say YOLO, Miami passing attack goes bananas, or just play more expensive running backs in that lineup because you can't do it all.
Can't do it all. Yeah, no, I have no issue going underweight on D-Hop. I mean, he's got the highest ceiling, right? Of all the guys below him, I think he's far and away got the best ceiling. But
yes,
it's very rare that he gets to that ceiling anymore, especially with Will Levis.
He's done it this year, but yeah, it was a little fluky. And again, last week 12 targets. I'm not going to ignore the 12 targets. He's getting a lot of targets. But
it's important. Yeah,
he's getting a ton of targets. That is great. That's all that matters. But yeah, it's not the greatest of matches. Miami should wreck these guys.
I can't imagine he's going to be 43% owned. That just seems way high.
The optimizer, it just will go to. There's nobody. Look at the salary. See, this is why it becomes 43% owned. Look at the salary skip. I'm just going to sort by salary. When you have a player at 6K, the next one up is 75, and the next one down is 5. That is absorbing a massive portion of the field that's just stuck in this area. You're just going to be. You're like, I only have 6,800 left. Who am I going to put in? Well, I can't get to Waddle. I don't want to leave 1,200 on the table and go down to Dobbs. So by default, you put in Hopkins. It's just like a salary gap that's happening here that is forcing this. And even when you go to tight end, it's like they're not priced there. Okay, what about running backs? And there are a couple. There's a couple of running backs in the zone, but they're also pretty shit. Like your least favorite running backs are hanging around. So it's a salary gap.
Okay. Yeah, that's what makes this tough. That's what makes fading Tyreek tough. Just a lot of different variables on a 2-gamer.
Yeah. Could leave some salary on the table. Yeah.
Because to me, AJ Dillon, I think, he could outscore D-Hop relatively easily. I think he's got a 40% chance of outscoring Hop.
Yeah, for a little bit cheaper.
Significant, yeah, almost 1K cheaper.
No, D-Hop can have a terrible game. Like, both of these guys can have a terrible game. What did we had a bet on something, by the way? What was our bet?
I don't remember.
Tournament tactics. We with the I think it was a quarterback scoring bet, but now I can't remember what it was. But you probably won it since a lot of these turds that you were talking about. You got to remember that bet because you might have won it.
It was either something about Flacco or Wilson, which they did pretty dang good.
They did good. Like was going to score
Eckler over Moss. It was somebody over Moss. Chase Brown. Was it Chase Brown over Moss?
I don't think it was. Okay. I don't remember what it was. We have to. I don't know, guys. What was the bet that me and Bobby had? Now I can't remember what it was, but I probably lost it.
Someone mentioned salary. Definitely leaving money on the table.
Yeah, I think you got to leave some salary on the table here.
Yes,
right. That's the move in this one because of that salary gap. If you leave 500 on the table, your lineups are just going to look different.
Don't be afraid to leave even more than that on a 2-gamer. You can leave a couple thousand, I think.
And by the way, this is a way. Yes, Joel, this is a way to get different. So when if you play the cheaper QB, he doesn't need to score as much. But are there other pay-up options that made it worth doing?
That's a question. If Tommy DeVito gets you Tyreek Hill, and if you play, you can only get to Waddle if you're playing Tua. I think there's some interesting.
Yeah, it depends on what the rest. There. Yeah, I would say that too. Bottom of the Hill, Waddle. We got our 3 Packers guys, and then of course the Giants guys are going to be the lowest owned. I think Giants guys is where you probably try to win the slate if you could accidentally pick the right one and mix him in. I'm definitely not doing double tight end, Dave. No way. Normally 2-game slates are very good for double tight end. Actually, I'm not gonna disallow it. But Gibson, was it on Gibson?
If it was Gibson, you won.
I probably did well.
You called Gibson. You called that. That was.
Did crazy. I say Gibson against like some other shitty wide receiver? I hope so. I hope it was that.
It might have been.
It was that.
You smoked that then.
Yeah. Gibson puts up the touchdown. That was awesome. Squirrel Patrol left 4K, won a 2-gamer. You can win these 2-gamers by leaving money on the table because your lineups look different. They just come together differently.
I would almost guarantee you that the winning lineup will have at least $500 left on the table.
Yeah.
At least.
And again, if you're using an optimizer, they do try to spend it all. So leaving some of that salary will make the combinations just look different than what other people are doing who aren't doing that. My big thing with the optimizer, by the way, is making sure you're allowing players versus defense. Right here, that's what this option does. How many players versus defense do you allow? So I allow 3 on these. You can go down to 2. It doesn't really matter how many. It's more that you're allowing players versus Gibson versus Mingo.
No way. Please tell me it wasn't Mingo.
That was the bet.
No way. Come on. I don't believe I would ever advocate for
this.
Mingo.
Doesn't sound like a bet
Please
me and you would make. Are
true.
These guys punking us? They're just. I don't think we would make that bet.
I'm nervous. It's true, but oh man, please tell me.
Yeah, I don't think that's what it was. I think they're punking us. Although we did talk about Gibson, but
you
I don't
called.
remember. All right, tight end. Again, I don't need to get back into this. Chig Okonkwo, Tucker Kraft, and then a bunch of zeros. Daniel Bellinger's getting 25%. Durham Smythe, 15%.
Yeah. My gosh. I think if I'm punting, I'm probably punting with Degura. But I think Chig and Tucker Kraft are, far and away. You could have 100% in those two guys. I think be okay.
I don't feel like at 3K, yeah. So FanDuel is a little different. So I will just differentiate here between FanDuel and DraftKings. I think there's some value on FanDuel. Here, let me show what it looks like on FanDuel, just so we're aware. I do think there's some value. You see how this 4,700, and then you can get all the way down to 4K.
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said for like playing these types on FanDuel, like the Ben Sims, and just saving the money, and maybe none of them do anything.
Yeah, they all stink.
Yeah,
they all stink. So someone can fall in the end zone on one catch. It's kind of this is the most similar element to the showdown is the tight end position.
Chig Okonkwo does get targets more than the other guys.
Yeah, but the crazy part is, did Ben Sims outscore him last week?
Maybe.
That'd have been close.
Maybe, but he
one target.
What is Tucker Kraft doing? He's getting, he's 6 targets last week, 6 targets for Chig last week. So those are 5-6 target guys. Daniel Bellinger does not get as many targets. 1, he's had as many as 3. But look at his scores: 3, 4, 5. It's not that different to go to Bellinger from the other ones. Durham Smythe rarely gets a target, but he's on that team that's looking to score the most points this week.
Is it fair to say that the tight end that scores a touchdown will be the nuts tight end?
Yes.
You feel like that's true tonight?
Yes. Okay. Absolutely. And look at this. Huzzah to the new VIP free month member. By the way, we don't look down when you get a free month. We love that. Do the free month offer. How do you do that, Kev? Right over here. Can you see it? Wait. There we go. It's right there. See how it says free month? This is the DFSArmy.com website. Click on that. You sign up. Sleeper. Prize Picks. Don't do Jock Market. Got to pull that one off of there.
Got to pull it off. Can I ask a question?
Guys, be careful with Jock Market. Get your money out of there.
Oh my gosh.
No, for real. Get your money out of there.
We got to pull it off. I can't take any more pods where we have to give that advice.
I know. I got it's like our tech team doesn't watch the pod. I've been saying it for the last few days, but just get your money out of there, guys. I don't know anything. But there are some signs that you want to get your money out of there.
What do people see in Lawrence Cager? I don't get this.
I think he had one game. I don't know why people keep mentioning it. It's a cool name, Larry Cage. He was in he was a badass character in Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter back in the day. Larry Cage. See the name a lot. I think he had one game where he was the starter. I think Bellinger had a Q tag, and so people just started talking about Lawrence Cage. But fuck it, I'll play a share with Lawrence Cage too. I don't care.
That dude is plus 1,600
to score a touchdown.
I think every other tight end on the slate has better odds, including Ben Sims.
Yeah.
Josh Weil, Wesco, they all have better odds. Not that it tells the whole story. It's just one thing, but it just
no. I think it's because I really do think it's because Bellinger has a Q tag, and everybody sees the Q tag is like, oh, if he's not in, I know it's Johnny Cage, but Larry Cage is an awesome name too. I know it's Johnny Cage. His brother was Larry Cage. You didn't see him on the show. He was just rooting for Johnny in the background.
I love that you call him Larry Cage.
Larry Cage.
Now that I said that he's going to score a touchdown, but man, of all the literally all of them on that list,
it was Mortal Kombat. Okay, I don't remember if it was Street Fighter. You know, I spent my high school at the convenience store right at the corner of the street where my high school was, with the video game nerds playing Mortal Kombat, and my actual favorite game wasn't even Mortal Kombat. I loved Mortal Kombat, but Mortal Kombat ate a lot of quarters, and you only had so many quarters.
Yep.
So there was a WWF wrestling game there too, and I forget what it was called, but it was like wrestling. And with the wrestling game, if you I won frequently enough that my one quarter, somebody else would have to come in. Like when you won your match, somebody else came in, you kept your play, and somebody else came, your opponent. So I was with the wrestling game, I was able to stay playing it for like 40 minutes on 1 or 2 quarters. Where that's on beautiful. Mortal Kombat, everybody was so good. Like you got 2-3 games in, you got beat.
That's a story you tell your grandkids. That's phenomenal.
I walked to that freaking convenience store every day and just played video games for like when lunch was. I spent a lot of time at that convenience store feeding those machines the quarters.
Simpler times.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I do think that maybe the ghost of Jeremy Shockey, I think, is at plus 1,500.
He has a better chance than
he's got a better
Johnny
chance.
Cage has better odds of scoring a touchdown than Larry Cage.
Nicolas Cage might have better odds. We're off the rails.
The best of the cages. All right. Finally, defense. How cute can we get on defense here? It seems like Packers and Dolphins are smash. I don't know which one's smashier. What about Giants? I think Giants will not be owned. Is that an interesting one?
Giants are interesting. All these are interesting. The Packers are missing a ton of pieces, and the Giants take care of the football. I think, one of Tommy DeVito's strengths is that he's relatively smart with the football. I think you're going to need a turnover in this one if you're paying up to the top. The Giants have 5 double-digit fantasy point games this season. That was surprising to me. Now they've come against some.
Up until like 2 weeks ago, Jordan Love sucked.
He was serviceable. But yeah, I think Christian Watson being out is a really big deal. The Giants they're in play.
I remember it was like 3 weeks ago that Jordan Love was like, oh, he played well. But for a long part of the season, he wasn't that good. He's still, a developing quarterback. They're on the road. There's a Luke Cage. Yeah, see, I knew there was something with an L. He was on the road. Now he's on the road. It's Monday night. It's weird. Monday night, weird. Weird shit happens on Monday night. We've seen it time and time again. We saw it last night. Listen, that wasn't weird last night, but the way the Eagles got dominated in that game, that wasn't weird. That was kind of like not super what I thought might happen. You know what I mean? Actually, my best lineup had the kicker at captain. Almost won that shit on just like 3 or 4 lineups, by the way, yesterday. It was awesome.
Did the Eagles defense finish in the nuts?
No, it was Dallas defense, Dallas kicker.
Because they scored that touchdown.
Yeah, it wasn't enough.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't enough. It was Dallas defense, Dallas kicker, and Dallas kicker was the nuts captain. Because once you put him in, you could afford Dez, Lamb, and AJ Brown. Didn't need Hurts in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, on defense, I think Dolphins 38%, Packers 31%. Makes sense. Packers are projecting higher than the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins are the best defense. Packers are projecting better because they're going up against Tommy D.
I think the Dolphins are probably the most likely. But to me, like the question is this. I'm just using one example here, but I think it's relatively likely. It's I think maybe better than 50% odds that the best scoring defense and the worst scoring defense finish within 10 points of each other. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah.
And I think, there's probably similar odds at least that Tyreek Hill outscores Jalen Waddle by 10 points.
Yes, definitely.
So
you're
I
saying
just think
if you're in a situation where it's a question of Waddle or Hill, and in order to get Hill in there, you've got to jump down to either Titans or Giants and save that money. YOLO.
there's absolutely reason to do it.
Yeah.
To me, ultimately, I'm just saying, I don't think defense wins you this slate. Get a mix of all 4 defenses. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I think you got to mix them. I do think that Dolphins and Packers both have a shot at scoring points. This is not a slate where I think all the defenses are going to get like 2s and 3s. We're probably going to have a defense put up like 8 to 10 or 12 or even a big score. At least one of them, maybe. But it's only 2 games. Could be not.
Yeah, it fits kind of my thought for how the games are going to go tonight. I'm overweight on the Giants. I think the value there, the savings you get, and their potential to put up a decent score is good.
I like
that's
the fact
why I'm going
that
overweight.
On screen here, you can see that I've actually run this a couple of times, so make my adjustments here in real time. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I really wasn't thinking hard about the Giants, but yeah, the Giants, if it's just one of those weird games where it's low scoring, and if for example, Saquon Barkley's kind of keeping them in the game, and the Giants are doing the thing that they do, which is slow it down, make it an ugly game. Tommy DeVito running a little bit, just slowing the game down, just milking the clock. One little defensive thing can happen, and the Giants could get there too. So, yeah, I like that thought process. I do think that's how this slate is going to play out, by the way. So let's get away from this, Bobby, and just like give our final thoughts here on how we think this slate is going to.
We're not going to build.
How do you see it? How do you see it going down?
We're not going to build a lineup.
What's that? Oh, you want to? All right, let's build a lineup. You know what? We haven't done that. Okay, let's do a lineup build. It's really hard to do a lineup build, quite honestly, because like I know what the let's
do a Tua lineup, and then let's do a Tommy DeVito lineup.
Okay. All right. So Tua and Tyreek Hill go together. I think we've already said that Barkley is sort of you want him in as many lineups as possible guy.
Maybe you want to throw Achane in there as the double stack, and then we could see how cheap we need to get.
Okay. We're already down to 3,800.
Okay, so it's hard. It's harder than I thought.
Yeah, for me, what I've done when I would want to put Packers defense in this one, because if Tua,
I think you get the Giants. Save you $900.
All right, let's try a Giants defense with Barkley. Okay. Save some money. I think that I don't know if I would do this, Jeff. I mean, I don't think it's a dumb idea. I just don't know if I could do it myself, even in 20 max. What's the max percent of players from opponent you would play against your defense? Kareem, good that you're asking that. I'm allowing 3, but 2 is okay as well. All right, from here, Bobbywow, where are we going? Tight end.
Let's plug Chig in, because Titans are desperate for points. They're throwing the football around a little bit.
Chig
up to 4,500. Okay.
Now, are we going with like a Westbrook Akine here, or are we going with like Dontarian Wicks, like the best pay down option, or do you want to do something different?
I don't know. We could go Wicks.
I mean, Jalen Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson. We go with Wicks here. Well, not there. Put Wicks in there. 4,800 left. So we could effectively get sort of 3 players in this 5K zone. Let's see who's available. A.J. Dillon, Reed, Dobbs. They won't work all 3. Spears.
I might go Spears. Yeah. Give me Spears.
And then you can put Reed in there in the last spot. My personal preference would be...
this is meant to be chalky. A little more chalky.
Yeah. This is pretty chalky. Actually, it wouldn't work with Dobbs and Reed and Wicks because all 3 of those Green Bay Packers wide receivers probably shouldn't be in the same lineup together. With Chig, that's way too many. No, not Chig.
Dobbs isn't in here either, is he?
No, I was going to do Dobbs as the last instead of Spears, but I couldn't get to him. He's 53. That's what I was saying. It doesn't work with Dobbs in the last spot. So this really works just the way it is.
Another option would be swapping Wicks out for Treylon Burks.
I think Wicks could be.
But yeah,
effectively swapped out for
with any turn.
Hyatt's
also interesting. Yep.
Or Westbrook-Akine, my guy. Always a fan of Westbrook-Akine. So, yeah, and this would be no Henry in this lineup and HN. Again, this one also doesn't have A.J. Dillon, who we like. But I don't necessarily love A.J. Dillon in a Giants defense script.
Because he's scoring touchdown. If A.J. Dillon's doing well, he's scoring touchdown.
Yeah, that's not the best Giants defense script.
Still possible, though.
I can't believe we're going to Tommy D on the next one because I think that's like the least likely.
Yeah, I know. I just some contrast.
All right. If you start off really cheap at QB, again, I'm going to put Barkley in there with Tommy DeVito. And in this one, I think we do want to pick a Giants wide receiver.
Let's go Hyatt.
Yeah, Hyatt looks good. Okay, fine. So we do that.
You could stack Tommy D naked. I think you could. But yes, I like this for this lineup.
I think Barkley is sort of a stack with him and he could run it. But yeah, we'll throw one guy in there with him. So let's see what else we have going on here. Wide receiver, of course, you want Hill. And in this case, Waddle also? Actually, let's see. Tommy DeVito. So
maybe go Dolphins defense here.
Yeah, let's put Dolphins in there. I like that. Okay.
Definitely want, Dobbs in there or Jaden Reed. I think I'm probably going Reed. Let's get some Packers players in there.
Oh, we're in the wide receiver spot. Reed. Yeah. 5,700. Remember, all right, we put in Taylor Tucker Kraft. 7K left. You can do, what can we do with 7K?
Oh, man.
HN. But then you can't get Waddle. It's Mostert or Henry. Or.
So you take out Reed, put in Wicks, and then you get to Waddle.
That's how you have to do it. Let me think of other ways to get there. The other one would be go down and just switch the defense. But if we take out Reed, I think Wicks is way less good than Reed. The other way to go may be just say YOLO it at tight end to Durham Smythe. Get Waddle in there like that.
There you go.
Go down to Wicks. Brian saying Durham Smythe. Mostert. I don't know if I want Mostert and HN together. That's like
that's a silly for the Millie lineup.
But it's not, this is a reason why you might have faded Tyreek Hill. You know what I mean? Like, why not Tyreek Hill? I'm sorry. Why am I not playing Tua? Well, because these wide receivers, these running backs went nuts. So let's see. Barkley, HN. So the other way to go, I didn't love this one as much. What if we went, instead of Hyatt, with Westbrook-Akine or one of these super cheap guys? Can I still get Waddle in there with a real tight end? Let's see. Hold on.
A real tight end.
Yeah, it worked.
And I think that's the point of this exercise was just to say, you can create an interestingly balanced lineup without Tua. That
in this case,
could reasonably outscore Tua lineups.
Look at all the studliness in here. HN and Barkley are expensive running backs. Jalen Waddle and Hill, the two best wide receivers. Kraft, fine, one of the better guys. And then Jalen Reed, probably the best wide receiver on that team. I wouldn't take Barkley out of a DeVito. I think Barkley and DeVito go together.
But yeah, Barkley caught 2 touchdown passes 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Both would be in the nuts.
Oh, I think if DeVito's having a good game, Barkley's having a good game. Like, if DeVito's having a good game, it's probably they're moving the football, and that just presents more scoring opportunities. So, yeah, I would say Barkley and DeVito would have a good game together. Or, like the bad game is the whole Giants offense sucks ass, and none of them do anything. Because that's in the cards here tonight, Bobbywow.
Absolutely.
There is a lot of shit in the cards tonight, including like Giants suck ass, right? That's one. I think Tennessee sucks ass is also in the cards.
Yeah.
I kind of think that Packers suck ass is also in the cards.
1000%. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I'm biased, but there are big time injuries on defense, and Christian Watson makes the offense worse. Him being out makes the offense significantly worse.
Bobbywow, fucking listen.
I mean, now the Packers are going to score 50 points. Jordan Love's going to set a record for passing touchdowns. But I really do.
Wow.
That's the way I'm going tonight. So we can win and lose together.
Yeah. Let's do it together. Let's win or lose together, people. I can't believe we did an hour and a half on this slate. Oh my God. It's almost time to put lineups in. The hell are we doing for so long? Thank you guys for hanging out. Let's start making lineups, people. 2-game slate. I'm also playing tiers tonight. That's right.
Wow.
The tiers looks really fun. It's a really small one. So if anybody get in, we don't need a breakdown for it. We already kind of talked through these players. You know what to do. But like tiers looks really fun tonight as well. So make sure if anybody wants to play it, just play the best projected in a cash lineup. You're probably going to smash. All right, let's wrap it up, Bobbywow. Good luck, everyone. We got more big weeks ahead of us. Just everybody notes there are 3-game slates galore, and there's another 3-game slate on Saturday.
Double headers.
What's going on? We got Christmas slates the next week, 3 games. It is a content bonanza for us content creators. It's challenging, so bear with us through this, but we got a lot of slates and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of good DFS. And I would tell everybody, I prefer this than the main slates and everything. These 2 gamers are fun. There's a lot of ways to leverage ownership. There's never a better time to leverage ownership than on a 2-game slate.
Yes.
Never. This is the best. You will win these by fading high ownership, regardless of what happens with the high ownership. You will win them by fading it. I have back tested these. Even if Tyreek Hill smashes and you limit him to 40% or 35%, that is not going to limit you from winning. It's usually having more of the other guy. The right guy is much more important than having a ton of like the expensive chalk. So you can win this by going 35% Jalen Hyatt when he goes nuts, or when he's at 2% or whatever, whoever that cheapie is. Westbrook Akine at 3% scores a touchdown. That's how you win $1 million tonight.
Treylon Burks.
Or Trey Burks, but who Bobby mentioned now 4 times. And as much as I fucking hate Treylon Burks and I hate him with a passion, now I'm going to play him a little bit, not too much.
Not too much, please.
How many people played Xavier Gibson when I mentioned him? No one. There's no confidence in my call.
That's not true.
No one played.
I have high confidence.
You didn't.
I did not.
Yeah,
I should have. I had Zach Wilson. Jeez,
how much Mingo you had if you just shifted a little over to Gibson? How much more money that could have been?
Unreal. One other thing to mention too. It's not sexy at all, but there's some stuff to take advantage of on the showdown contests. The 2-game slate contests are great. That's where I'm going to be, but people are going to sleep on the showdowns. So there's money to be made there tonight. Everyone's going to flock to these 2-game or bigger contests. So don't be afraid to jump into the showdowns. Yeah,
play some showdown, but I do like the 2-gamer more. And for me personally, I focused on FanDuel because I enjoyed the variety of contests that they offer and the payouts a little bit more than what I was enjoying on DraftKings. So I focused there. But, that's to each their own. That's probably the first time this year that I'm doing this, where I focused FanDuel. I have not done that all year. This is it.
It's interesting.
I think I did the other 2-gamer as well, actually, now that I recall. I don't know why, but I like what they do for those.
I'm just glad to hear that you like something FanDuel does. At the end of the day, it warms my heart.
I haven't had the Are You Human thing in weeks.
There you go.
Maybe they got rid of it. That was keeping me from playing. I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to log in to change it. So it hasn't been happening, which I appreciate. All right, that's going to do it, guys. Good luck tonight. We'll see you on top of the leaderboards. And, of course, let us know. Take down a tournament. Sign up to DFS Army. All that good shit. We'll see you.